All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. My name is Ishaq ben Israel, and I'm the priest of the United Congregation of Israel, and this is our weekly Bible study that we do every fourth day, or as it is more commonly known as Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of these broadcasts are available by either listening through Ustream, downloading the Ustream app. It will also be on our internet, on our website, on our page for the Bible study will stay on the front page until the Sabbath, and then the Sabbath class will take the place of it and stay until the next Bible study, and so on and so on. And we do have a call-in recordings line as well, so that you can go back and listen to recorded classes, and that separate number is also listed on our website. But before we get started, we're going to begin with the prayer. So we're going to face the east. And all males, remove your head covering. And females, always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, we thank you, Yahweh, for giving us another opportunity to read out of this great legacy that you have left unto us. We pray, Abba Father, that you would allow your spirit of understanding to be with us on this night, that we may be able to grow out of the things that we read. And we also pray, Yahweh, that you would give us a heart of flesh, a understanding heart, that we may be able to not just hear these things, for many people come together to hear your word, but your word has become unto them the words of a lovely song that people love to hear, but they won't make one change in their life to do. Let it not be so with us, Yahweh. We pray, Father, that you would give us an understanding heart, a heart of flesh, that we may be able to conform to the righteousness that you show us. For the only righteousness we know, Yahweh, is that which you reveal unto us. For we understand that man does not have any righteousness, of his own. The only righteousness we have is that which you reveal unto us. So we pray, Father, that you will reveal these things unto us, but then you would also give us an understanding heart, a heart of flesh, that we may be able to do those things that you reveal unto us. We not only ask these things for those who gather with us physically, but we ask these things for those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and in spirit. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to start tonight. We're going to start in Genesis 10, and I want to go through the things of Babel and Babylon. If you've just been paying attention, I mean, I've had a lot of things going on in the last couple of weeks. So there are some things that I have not, really watched in the news, but just glancing, you can see that there is a lot of worries about the direction that America is going to take with Donald Trump. And the thing is, it's one of those things where, excuse me, when there was a depression, the depression was for, like, it was official when it happened to white people. There were black people that didn't even know, we in a depression? Because they was already poor and it was already going through things. Then the rest of the world started going through it. And that's what normally happens in situations like when something just affects us, it's a problem. Once it makes it on the other side of the tracks, it's an epidemic. Well, now you have people, Caucasians, worried about the direction that the presidency is taking, and we have already had to endure that the entire time we've been here. So now they're starting to feel what we have felt forever. So it's no cause for us to be alarmed, because we know they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do. We've been voting for a whole long time. We've been doing a whole lot of things. It hasn't stopped us from getting shot down in the middle of the street. It hasn't stopped any of our problems. We get so-called little mandates or little things here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't slowed down any of the things that we're faced with. Bill Clinton has come out and apologized that he pushed a law, that ended up having more people in prison. But when you get down to even examining what Hillary Clinton said, she didn't, she said that, some vague stuff, but she didn't go right in and say, it was absolutely horrible. We want to repeal it, and not only are we going to try to get rid of this, we're going to try to fix some of the problems that happen. Not once are people talking about, they're talking about, yeah, they did something wrong, but they're not talking about fixing it. The one thing you have to respect about the psychosis of Donald Trump, he did not like Obamacare, and he automatically said he wanted to repeal it. Hillary and her husband talked about how many black people ended up being wrongfully given all of these long prison terms, but they didn't say that they were going to go right in and snatch it all out. They never made a stand on that. And even if somebody's stance is something that you don't agree with, you have to respect that they have a stance. So we need to consider, as all of this stuff is going on in America, you have Americans worried about Trump's ways, his policies, and his hand-picked billionaire cabinet. Never before has there been such an open conflict of interest. He was, talking about these things, but the people who are going to be in charge are these same people who have already business interests in certain areas. So it's like putting the fox in charge of the hen house, and he telling you, go ahead and go to sleep. Don't worry about the hens. I got this. And every morning you wake up, it's some hens missing. Well, you can go ahead and count on it that there's going to be some things here. So let's start with Genesis chapter 10, and let's read verses 1 through 11.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Medai, and Yavan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphtah, and Togarmah.
Right. So you have these Ashkenazi Jews then turn around and tell people that they're being anti-Semitic when somebody says something against them, and they're not. A Semite is a Shemite, and it's anti-Shemitic, not anti-Semitic. Now, Japhet is the progenitor of the Gentiles. They are not Shemites. So for them to say, that's how you stop that every time somebody says, well, this person is anti-Semitic. How can that be, since you're not a Shemite? No, they anti-Japhetic. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And the sons of Yavan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations.
Everyone after his tongue, which is his language, after their families, in their nations. So those were the Gentiles. Those are the people that we know as being Caucasians. Okay, go ahead, verse 6.
And the sons of Ham.
And we know means burnt black. Go ahead.
Cush.
And we know that that's Ethiopia.
And Mizraim. and Foot,
And we know that those are Mizraim and Foot, Egypt.
and Canaan.
And we know that Israel was called Canaan land. So anytime we go through this, and especially on our video, Esau the Imposter, we get some European Jews, and I'm talking about they be hot, Jack. They be in the stratosphere upset with us. And they'll try to get you, into cussing them out. And we don't do all of that. But they'll try to tell you that no black people ever lived in that land. And if you understand this verse, Genesis 10 and verse 6, that everything that they are trying to tell you is a lie. It's easy to find out that Cush is Ethiopia. This is very easy. Mizraim and Foot is Egypt. So understand, those Egyptians that the children of Israel was amongst were black like them. Then you have Canaan land, which is a descendant of Ham, which means burnt black. So it was black people that had that land first. They try to tell you that no black people ever lived in that part of Africa. See, if you're not careful, they keep telling you that black people stayed in southern Africa, that there were no black people that far up in Africa, and that's a lie. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Raama, and Sabteka. And the sons of Raama, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
Now, when you understand the way that the Euro Gentiles do things, anything that is of great influence, they put their image and likeness there so that you will believe that they were the ones that did it. So anything great in the earth, they have given an image, and the image looks like them. And everything that we ever thought about of Nimrod, we were always shown this Euro Gentile. Cush begat Nimrod. So the Nimrod would look like an Ethiopian. His daddy was Cush, an Ethiopian. Nimrod was what we know as an Ethiopian. He was not Euro-Gentile. But every image that we see shows him being something else. Go ahead.
He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunter before Yahweh. And the beginning of his kingdom was called Babel.
Okay, the beginning of his kingdom was called Babel. So the beginning of this Babel comes out of Cush, then Nimrod, which comes out of Ham. So the first people you see ruling, that's listed as ruling, are Hamites. The people that we know of as Africans, right off the rip. It haven't even started listing the rest of the sons. It gives you Japhet and his people. Then it starts talking about Ham, and automatically starts talking about the beginning of the kingdom. So this is the first one mentioned, and you have to look at the names Babel and Erech. When you look at all these phallic symbols and basically what they are, all of these things that you find in America now, they were already set up in Egypt. These pyramids, these phallic symbols, all of these things were there. Go ahead.
And Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Asher and built Nineveh and the city Rehoboth and Calah, and reasoned between Nineveh and Calah, the same as a great city.
All right, now let's go to Genesis 11 and read verses 1 through 9.
And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And Yahweh said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do.
So from the beginning, we have to understand that Yahweh was the one that separated all people from one another, so that people will be with their own people. And man has constantly tried to get back to this one world government. If you pull out a dollar, they have this slogan on the back: this one world order, this one world government. This is what they have constantly tried to push back to, and it's the very thing that Yahweh separated us from being able to do. Go ahead.
Go to. Let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahweh scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because Yahweh did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did Yahweh scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth.
So then you have this confusion that man has constantly tried to revive over and over and over again. Go ahead. You went to 9. All right, let's go to Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit is troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation thereof, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if you show the dream, and the interpretation thereof, you shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream, and the interpretation thereof. They answered again and said, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that you would gain the time, because you see the thing is gone from me. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you, for you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me the interpretation thereof. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, master, nor ruler that acts such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh.
Right. So there's certain situations that Yahweh is awaiting for everybody else to say that it is completely impossible and that it cannot happen. And then here comes Yahweh. See, this is how Yahweh gets him some glory. He gets his glory when everybody else say, oh, you ain't going to be able to do that. You ain't going to be able to do it. We've seen great people try that, and they were not able to do that. And see, if you ain't careful, you're going to let somebody else put their weaknesses on you. What you wasn't able to do ain't got nothing to do with me. Go ahead.
For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men out of Babylon. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, Why is the decree so hasty from the king? And Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation.
That there's a certain amount of faith that already to even attempt that. Go ahead.
Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah his companions.
Right, who they call Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And just to show that this is openly written here, that this is their real names. Yet in every church teaching that we've ever heard, they always pushed the foreign names, the names that were given them in captivity. How convenient is that? Go ahead.
Verse 18. That they would desire mercies of the Elohim of heaven concerning this secret.
And you know what's interesting? These names openly glorify Yah. Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Automatically, you can hear Yahweh and Elohim in those names. Go ahead.
That Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the Elohim of heaven. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of Elohim forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings.
Right. He removes kings and he sets up kings. So you got all of these people rushing to go vote. They're rushing to go do all of these things. And Yahweh has already said, okay, it's time for some foulness to happen. So, hey, you foul boy, come on, stay right here. Hey, no, ain't nobody else gonna win. Let the foul boy win, because I need some foul stuff to happen. Yahweh has done it over and over throughout this book. So no. He said, for this reason I raised you up, Pharaoh, that I might be able to show my power in you. So I'm gonna let you do all the foulness. But now it's time for your judgment, and now that it's time for your judgment, I'm not gonna let you repent, because you've done this for so long. Your repentance is fake. It's only to get the whipping off you. But I ain't gonna let the whipping come off you. I'm gonna make an example out of you, so that all the other nations will see. Go ahead.
You know, we've talked several times about things happening in Israel. You heard Donald Trump say that Jerusalem is going to be the capital of Israel again, and not Tel Aviv.
Absolutely.
He's pushing that agenda.
Hey man, every president that gets in there has a job to do. Go ahead.
He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him.
Right. You can't hide any of these things. People cannot hide their intentions from Yahweh. But I think that people forget, even Israelites who claim to serve Yahweh, I think they forget that you can't hide nothing from Yahweh. You cannot hide your real intentions. So showing one face while doing something else, it's not going to work with Yahweh. He's going to reveal it every time. Go ahead.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 23. I thank you and praise you, O you Elohim of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might, and has made known unto me now what we desired of you. For you have now made known unto us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went in and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Yehudah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation.
Right. Now, what we have to... there's several things in this whole situation. First of all, it's a really bad situation. And our problem is we're all the time trying to avoid bad situations. But there are some bad situations that have to happen for your upliftment and your rise to a higher power. It just doesn't happen just out of the wind. The wind blows and you just go up on another level. No, something has to happen. And this is that negative something that their lives are on the line, but then there's a positive end that's set forth to happen. So a lot of times people are taking off running, and what they're doing is they're running from the very thing that's going to cause their upliftment. Go ahead.
The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Are you able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king has demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is an Elohim in heaven that revealeth secrets, and make known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed are these. As for you, O king, your thoughts came into your mind upon your bed, what should come to pass hereafter? And he that reveals secrets makes known to you what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that you might know the thoughts of your heart. You, O king, saw and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of fine gold, and his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. You saw till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth.
Right, so now we have this whole thing, this image. The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. As you notice, this image is this kingdom. This kingdom is getting weaker as it goes down. It starts as gold, it goes to silver, then it falls to brass, then it goes to iron, then it goes to clay. So as it's going, and as it's ruling all this time, but it's getting weaker and weaker, and it's still a part of the entire image. So this whole thing is Babylon, but it's getting weaker and weaker. We have to understand that Rome, as strong as it was, Rome fell from within. So when you understand all the turmoil and all the things that are going on, understand this is an extension of Rome. This is an extension of Europe. Go ahead.
You know, even when you look like you're saying it's coming down, the foundation is getting weak.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell you the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings. For the Elohim of heaven have given you a kingdom, power and strength and glory.
Right. He is giving you this. Yahweh sets up kings and gives it to the basest of men, the worst of people. At the end of the day, this is what you deserve. Didn't he tell Israel the same thing? Israel said, I want a king. He said, I'm going to tell you, I'll give you a king, but I'm going to tell you what kind of king you're going to get. Okay? So, if Israel asking for a king got them a raggedy king, imagine what the nations have done and the dirt that they've done to all other people. What kind of king you think they deserve? See, everybody keep thinking, oh, well, we want discount. And here we go, being the pawns on the table, desiring, a great king. You're desiring a great king for to be your oppressor. You're trying to pick your oppressor. Go ahead.
Verse 38. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven, has he given into your hand. and has made you ruler over them all. You are this head of the gold. You are this head of gold. And after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
Now you see that? The whole thing is that kingdom being the hammer of the earth. So understand, as Europe was ruling, here it is, this extension of Europe then took over the rulership. But it's still completely European. Anything happens in Europe, they don't even have to ask. America's there. Even though they once fought. This is the only thing. The daughter fought the mother for independence, but at the same time, she still recognizes her mother. Go ahead.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things, and as iron breaks all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas you saw the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron.
Hold on. And as this iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So now the kingdom is being divided. Go ahead.
And whereas you saw the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay.
So even though it's divided, it has this power still of the iron, even though it's not connected like it was before. Go ahead.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
Right. So you have all of these issues. You just had a major event go on in Europe. They getting down to, they just using straight trucks as terroristic weapons. They just hop in a vehicle and just keep on driving, and just run all over people and this is really getting people upset. But understand something. Because of this whole going all over the earth and taking over all of these other places and wanting to combine all of those people, you have a lot of different ethnicities in these lands now. See, as they would go, we even read this book, as Israel was conquered, what did they do? Remove the children of Israel and then grab somebody else and put those people in Israel. So when you keep doing that, you end up, of course, with pockets of people who are there who don't want to be there and who are upset about what you did to their original land. So yeah, there are people that are in Europe, but they're upset with the rulership and how things have been done unto them. So then you have all of these issues, and this is where Donald Trump says, hey, get rid of, all immigrants. All immigrants are bad, and it is amazing. It is the how he got elected. He was bold in saying what he said. But what it did was it showed the hatred that America has against immigrants. But it is interesting because their hypocrisy is at an all-time high, as they have forgotten that they were once immigrants as well. But the hypocrisy is pacified in America because America is truly seen by them as an extension of Rome. So they don't consider themselves as immigrants anymore because they took over the land. So since they are extensions of Europe, they think this is theirs. So Europeans are not considered immigrants anymore. When they say immigrants, you have to understand what they mean. They mean anybody not European white. Whether you know it or not, you got all these black people lined up. You are an immigrant to them. Understand, black people who ended up without a home in Louisiana were called refugees. You might want to look up the definition of a refugee. I ain't never heard them call a white person that when the hurricane hit down in Florida and all them white people ended up homeless and running out of there, they didn't call none of them white people refugees. Matter of fact, in just looking at the things that happen in Louisiana, the black people were called refugees. If they got something, they looted it. They would use certain words. When the white people took a boat, I heard them say, he commandeered it. What the hell? So he commandeered it, but the black dude looted it. So you need to understand. So as we're listening to this immigrant talk, we think that we're separate from the immigrant talk. No, you're not. If you're not European white, to them, you are an immigrant. So we keep thinking that, oh, they talking about the Mexicans. Or they talking about, no, that's who they talking about on top of the surface. But it filters down to everybody else that don't look like them. Go ahead.
Verse 44. And in those days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Right. So the last one, the best is saved for last. We always, of course, we can't wait, so we want the best first. That's not how that happens. So when you look right off the rip, each one of the families gets their opportunity to rule. You see, right off the rip, we start talking about Ham, Cush, Nimrod, all of their family ruling right off the rip. Genesis 10. We should, to this day, there are monuments in Egypt that they can't even figure out how they was built. Then we see these 2,500 years that the Euro-Gentiles have been ruling. So when you talk about Israel, then you're talking about Shem, the family of Shem getting their opportunity to rule. So each one of these sons of Noah has to get their opportunity to rule the earth. Go ahead.
For as much as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Elohim has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
All right. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 13. See what the Euro-Gentiles are in the process of doing. They've already had their time to rule the earth, and they've been ruling it for quite some time. But now they want to transform themselves into Israel so that they can rule again under Shemite rule. It's a nice trick. It is a nice trick. That is a nice trick. You just put another shirt on and just get right back in the lunch line. That is a nice trick. I tried it in junior high. I know it well. So they said, didn't I give you ice cream? No, that was my brother Besok. No, you didn't give me no ice cream. Right. Yeah. That's a nice trick in junior high. That's not gonna fool Yahweh. But they putting all the marbles on it. They putting all the marbles. They have put somebody in the land. They have said that this is Israel. Because see, this is a long ongoing plan. You put somebody in the land as Israel who look just like you. So now they cannot distinguish between who's really Israel if Israel looks just like the Gentiles. Right. That's a nice trick. Nice trick. Isaiah chapter 13, and let's start at verse 1.
The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amoz did see. Lift you up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them. Shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. A tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together.
Kingdoms of nations gathered together. Go ahead.
Yahweh of hosts mustered up the hosts of battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven. Even Yahweh and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land.
Now, you have to kind of pay attention to some of the things that are going on. And then when you read this, it's kingdoms of nations gathered together. So we're talking about a lot of people being upset. You have to just think, Donald Trump has not taken office yet. And he has already said some things that will openly tick some rulers off right off the rip. He is not president yet. But something has to be put in order and in place for an assembly of nations. And then you have to wonder if you were Russia and you know that you have an inevitable fight with this other country, wouldn't it be in your favor if the captain of their team was somewhat of an idiot? I mean, it would be in your best interest. Not somebody who understood, but a loose cannon who will actually make your allies stand with you stronger. Even make some of their allies leave them. That would be to your benefit. I mean, you consider as people are watching conflict within organizations. When you even watch the Malcolm X movie, you see right off the rip, the FBI was afraid of Malcolm. They were completely okay leaving Elijah Muhammad alone. They were completely okay leaving Farrakhan. See, they was all right leaving King Louis alone. They didn't worry about what King Louis did. They was worried about Malcolm. See, so they was like, no. He don't need to be the leader. That's too much power for anybody else. They didn't bother Farrakhan at all. He is gone without one hitch. They didn't bother him. So, but it was not in their best interest to allow Malcolm to go on. So we know that when it comes down to certain things, when people are battling, they realize that it would be in their best interest if a lesser person leads this group. Even when you deal with the Black Panther Party, that was the whole reason for the infiltration of all the agents to cause problems in the leadership. But we haven't read anything of any of that happening with the KKK. Go ahead.
I mean, when you look at it, if you're not really paying attention, there's something getting ready to go down. Because Trump basically talked against all the generals. They were all idiots and this and that. But he's appointed 4 generals to positions. He's got 4 generals in position in his cabinet.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing you'll also notice about this guy is he has the one mouth that's facing the microphone, and there's apparently 2 other mouths coming out the side of his neck. And at any given point, he could turn his head and still talk directly into the mic. Now, how is that possible unless you got another mouth somewhere? And this dude, you don't know which mouth is talking. Mm-hmm. See? But it fits America. He's just doing it openly. This is what she's always done. She says peace, peace, while she's stabbing you. He's just doing it openly. And that's what happens when you are like rich forever. See, there's a difference between new money and old money. You know, when you've grown up with that kind of money, you've grown up with that kind of privilege. That kind of privilege gives you the right to say things that other people can't say. Like, we've watched videos where the white people cuss the police out, and we'd be like, man, we'd be dead. I've watched a video where the white man cussed a police out so bad. We would have never got that opportunity. Not the stuff that he said to this policeman. And I mean, he raising his hand and he going off on the policeman. We'd had like 36 holes in us. They was like, I felt threatened. I felt threatened. What did he do? He raised his voice at me. Well, what did he say? He said, how you doing, officer? What? Yeah, but he said it high. It was high. It was a high. You doing? Yeah, and I had to shoot him. Right? And he would get off. So, privilege gives you the opportunity to do some things, and the longer it goes on, the more you feel as if you deserve it. So this privilege at this point has become a thought of it's owed at this point. So when you get that, this is what's going to really cause the issue. The people who grow up in politics, they already know to speak with forked tongue, to say one thing while they're doing another. He doesn't know that. He's going to say exactly what he's going to do. We're going to bomb the crap out of him. You can't say that, man. Even Bush, when they were talking about when he was going to invade the Middle East, we found out later what he was waiting on. He was waiting for new moon so it could be completely dark in the Middle East before he invaded. Because obviously the moon is so bright there, they're going to be able to see the doggone planes coming. And then he came at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning is when he invaded. So he waited until it was pitch black. That might not work for Trump. He might have told, we're going to bomb him on the 13th at 3 a.m. He turned around and tell all the plans. See, there's a certain thing as being too truthful, but this is what America likes. They like the fact that he will say those things that they really feel. So this is their opportunity to really see some things, and it's causing a dividing line, because you're starting to see even a dividing line in between the Euro Gentiles, because this is my problem with the people who like to blanketly say all white people or all. There are some people that are completely not with some of the things that he's doing and saying. But what happens is, in a mingled country like this, people feel obligated to agree with people who look like them. Like we just watched some things on the news where this buckhead businessman accidentally shot his wife from the back seat of the car. Now, it is amazing. They've had a sale of all her stuff. They've gone through all of these things. Now, man, this has happened like, 6 months ago? I mean, it's been this woman buried. They have done a estate sale. They've done all of these things. Now, they have now charged this man. And didn't charge him with murder. They charged him with manslaughter. Now, he's rich. She was rich. He said he had the gun out and they hit a bump. And then he shot his wife through the seat. Now, he in the back seat. And he shot through the seat and shot his wife. He has gotten a half of a year to get all of his business in order. Before they have said one thing and they have charged him with the least crime that they could. This is what happens when people feel obligated to look out for their own. And people keep wondering, people say, well, black people must do more crime because there's more of them in jail. Ain't no black person will go get no 6 months after they kill somebody.
You don't even get 6 hours.
You ain't getting 6 minutes, Jack. 6 minutes, Dougie Fresh, you on. You can believe that. That's it. Go ahead.
The person driving her friend states the vehicle was not moving when he shot her. So how do you still just get manslaughter?
Hey.
It's suspicious with him being in the back seat.
Right. He the husband. 2 women in the front. He in the back with a gun. Well, I felt, we was going through a certain, part of town. so I pulled out my gun. So you pulled out your gun, and you a bright businessman, and you ain't got sense enough to know not to point the gun at your wife. I don't know what it was, but I know one thing. Why is the gun pointed at your wife for it to go off? If you threaten, don't your gun point in the area of the threat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why is it pointing at your wife? The gun, if you sitting in the car, if the threat not in front of you, the gun ain't supposed to be pointing that way. If the threat is to the side as you're riding by, your gun need to be facing the area of where the threat is. I'm going to get that threat in front of my wife. I'm just going to shoot through her and shoot him. That's a hell of a plan you got there, genius. Right. But this is the kind of justice that goes on here. This is the hypocrisy of America. This is the kind of stuff that happens over and over. So when you see a white person in jail, let me tell you something. That means they have exhausted all other possibilities of trying to save them out of that situation. Go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 6. Howl you, for the day of Yahweh is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travails. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flame.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, the day of Yahweh comes, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger.
Now, see, this is what happens to this whole New Testament Christian thought process. They don't understand that there's a judgment coming, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger. They've all been taught God is love, and they sing it. So they don't understand. Hey, judgment. If Sodom and Gomorrah was dealt with, what makes you think Yahweh would be happy with this place? Would be happy with the things that have taken place? So then you have to sell this rosy red view of everything, and that anybody who speaks truth, they're some kind of cult leader or something like that. But there was a time that all churches read this stuff. See, there was a time that the old school preacher was teaching and reading out of this stuff. So they had to be given their prosperity and so they can get up out of that. Go ahead.
They've also been given the rapture to have people believe that they
so they can miss it.
Exactly.
So if anybody tell you about it, if you just happen to hear about it, oh, don't worry about that, baby. You're gonna be raptured up. You're gonna be in heaven, looking down while all that destruction is going on. Right. And that's gonna hurt some people's feelings, Jack, when they realize that they gotta go through this after they have given all of their money, all of everything that they have had, trying to buy influence, which is what it is. Because at the end of the day, Christianity is basically Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
And Catholics buy indulgences. You sin, you go make a confession, drop a little dough. That's what you do. You sin, you go confess, and you drop a little money. So Christianity has just cleaned it up a little bit. You keep giving your money, you give your tithe, and you ain't got to worry about nothing. It's the same buying of indulgences that are set up in the Catholic arena. Go ahead.
Brother, if we're not, when you look at it, there's been some major moves being made that are making people make major decisions. It's like you talking about this last push with the Obama administration with this, making this thing the legal right of this country. That's already separated the country. Because a lot of the people who are behind Trump are not behind that.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that forced the country and divided. Now it's divided with this whole Trump administration. So these lines are being drawn.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's having to make a decision
Right.
on what they believe and what they're going to stand for.
And you talking about the same-sex marriage,
Yes.
right? Right. And another thing, there are some that are repealing the because there was a push for the gender bathroom thing that was passed, so that even if somebody, if they change their sex, they can go to the bathroom of
what they think
whatever they were, and then they got that little, Prince New Generation sign, whatever the hell, that little circle with the plus, or whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Apparently, that's the transgender sign or whatever. So when you see that, that's supposed to mean that they can pick whatever bathroom or what have you. So you liable to go in the men's bathroom and find a woman standing up. What the hell going on in there? But that is another thing that they're trying to go after and repeal in other places. So you're right. There are lines, there are things that are being done that are causing more and more divisions. And understand, Rome fell from within.
Well, she was busy in everybody else's business.
Right. And looking at everybody else's business, sending troops over here, sending millions of dollars over here per day, sending millions of dollars over there per day, sending troops over here. And we understand, America has troops all over the world. Everywhere you can name, there are troops there, bases there, embassies there, money is going there. Meanwhile, people starving down the street and losing their homes, and they're taking the tax dollars that those people are paying and sending money all over. If she stopped doing that, there wouldn't be one homeless person here. Not one hungry person here. Go ahead.
To lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Verse 10. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine.
So then we know that we are now dealing with an event that has not happened. Okay? Because we're talking about the stars of heaven, the constellations thereof shall not give their light. We can go in Revelation and read about these things. So then we understand that this is a prophetic event. Yet people are telling you to stay out of the Old Testament, yet we can read things that have not taken place. Go ahead.
And I'll punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity, and I'll cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible.
Right. The arrogancy of the proud is to believe that nothing can be said whatsoever about anything that's done wrong in this land. Anytime you mention something, you become the troublemaker. Go ahead.
I'll make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger.
So what we're talking about is all kind of storms, all kind of everything going wrong here in verse 13. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. When we're talking about the earth wobbling off its axis, you know how many problems that's going to cause when you start talking about the plagues and all of the things that came from it. You have to consider how many other issues are going to happen when everything in Yahweh's atmosphere fits one thing. One thing affects another thing, which affects another thing, which affects another thing. So if you just come and say, we're going to take the bees, take all the bees and just take them out of the world. You have any idea how many problems you just caused? You have any idea how many problems you have? I'm talking about a chain reaction of problems. So people read this and the earth removing out of her place, and they, say, oh, well, I mean, we might be a little dizzy. Oh, no. You're going to be a whole hell of a lot more than just a little dizzy. See, when it wobbles on that axis, it's going to cause a chain reaction of problems. Go ahead.
And it shall be as the chase road, and as a sheep that no man takes up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land.
And this daughter of Babylon has more of other people than any other land ever. Every other land has some immigrants. America is comprised of immigrants so much that now the immigrants don't call themselves immigrants. They call anybody who don't look like them immigrants. But bottom line, they will openly tell you that this family is from Germany, this family is from here, this family is from here. Long as it's Europe, you're fine. Anywhere other than that, you're an immigrant. Go ahead.
Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished.
And people look at this and say, oh my God, that is so unfair. Understand something. This is everything that they have done since they've been here. They've completely killed the whole time that they've been here. And Yahweh has to decide who he's going to. That's why that job can't be ours. Yahweh is the deciding factor as to who's going to be saved and who's not going to be saved. But you got to understand how many kids, other children of other nations have been killed here in this country, and absolutely nothing has happened. How many other people's wives have been ravaged and anything has been done as far as justice to those people? Go ahead.
Behold, I will stir up the Russians against them.
And when we look at this, we know that the Medes are the Russians, and even when you go back to Genesis 10 and this Medes, Media, you find those are of Japheth, the Gentiles. So he's saying he's going to stir up the Medes against them, and they won't be able to buy their way off. So if you're then talking about stirring up the Russians against them, then you have Putin and the Russians, all of this talk that they manipulated the vote. Understand something. This is what people kind of let go by them. Russia has accused America of doing that in every other land, that they have gone in and manipulated the votes so that they can put in power who they wanted all over the world. Russia says our turn. Go ahead.
It's funny you mentioned that Obama gave a speech and just this week, and he was telling everybody that America's focus needs to be now on cyber war, on all of these countries who may actually, including China, he mentioned, in addition to Russia.
And their buddies. They China and Russia hand in hand.
So,
go ahead.
very much so, that they need to be more mindful of all of them who have the potential to manipulate our infrastructure and other things to their gain that they're not paying attention to.
Right. See, it's their tricks coming back on them. It's the very thing that they have been doing all along, manipulating the votes, manipulating the leaders of countries, picking who will rule, because they know that they're going to have a better opportunity if one person rules versus another person. Go ahead.
Which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. In Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah.
And we know this is a serious overthrow. Read the next line.
It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation.
Right. So then this Babylon is not the old Babylon that we know. Understand, this kingdom that was prophesied in Daniel 2 Each one of them was Babylon. They were taking place, and it says ruling the world. Okay? So when this one is done, it shall not be inhabited. Go ahead.
Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there.
And understand, every nationality comes over here and is able to make business and prosper except us. In our neighborhood, you'll find people driving Cadillacs and Mercedes, and then we all still go to the store owned by the foreign person on the corner. And every corner is another foreign person who owns a store in our neighborhood. Now, we might own a big house in that neighborhood, but don't own any stores or any of the things in that neighborhood. Go ahead.
You know, in this verse 20 at the end here, it says, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there. When you look at what you call Native Americans, we knew them as dwelling in tents. When you look at them, they look like Arabians. The attributes, the way they conduct themselves are that of Arabians.
But brother, them people that own every one of these gas stations is Arabian. So you got a whole, and it says they gonna start to go back to their country. Right, everything that's owned in our neighborhood is owned by one of them. And they've been instructed, go over there and make money, but don't you deal with them people. So they don't deal with you outside of their store. They'll talk to you, and they'll make small talk with you. And then they take all that money, all that black money, and go back to their white neighborhood and send their kids to school and all of those things and buy more stores, but they don't deal with us. See how many, when you go to the Little League parks and where they have all the banners of the businesses who contributed to the games and all of that. See if you see any Haji or the Pakistani stuff. See if you see any of their businesses on the wall at our Little League park. No, they don't do it. They don't support anything there. They make their money, and they make them little hole in the wall stores. They are making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in a hole in the wall that you can look and the ceiling look like it's gonna cave in any minute. So you be hurry up trying to buy. Look, man, hurry up, man, for the ceiling cave in, brother. Hey, 5.2, man. Hurry up, bro, hurry up. And they'll not get the store fixed because they know they can keep a hole in the wall and you gonna keep coming. Why spend the extra money in renovating this place for people who don't care? You can talk to them bad. You can tell them, you buy, you go. I feel sorry for your mother. And you come right back in there. Why treat you any kind of way? You gonna keep coming back anyway. You try that in a Gentile neighborhood, you'd be closed down 2 weeks. They will stop spending their money in a place that says no refund, no exchange, and you buy, you go. Yet these people own businesses on every corner in our neighborhood, and all of them say the same thing. No refund, no exchange, and you buy, you go. Go ahead.
Verse 21. The wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged.
Right, and we know that when we deal with all of these things, animals can deal with radiation, and people cannot. So when you talk about being able to live in a radioactive environment, the animals are able to survive where all men will have to leave it as it is. They can't pick up and take nothing out of it. They gotta go. The same thing they did in with the Chernobyl thing when that plant went down. They had to just build a wall around that city and leave it. The animals have multiplied. It has turned into a straight wilderness. And even when they measure the radioactive parts of the animals, they still have radioactive elements to them. It is still unsafe for humans, and I think that was 50 years ago. It is still unsafe for anybody to go in it. So you consider that was one town and an accident. What we're talking about is an on-purpose destructive event. So one accident, and 50 years later they still can't go in it. When they go in it, they're in full radioactive suits looking like Ghostbusters with the little measuring things, trying to measure the radioactive qualities of the environment. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 47.
Verse 1.
Yep.
Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground.
See, now we're getting a little bit more detail as we're then dealing with this virgin daughter of Babylon. See, so now you got Babylon, and now you got the virgin daughter of Babylon. And we talk about the virgin daughter. She hasn't been invaded. She's had a little a spat with her mama that got her independence. But she ain't never been invaded. No war has ever been fought here. They've always taken the war to somebody else. This virgin daughter has never had to feel any destruction. We're talking 9/11 was one building or a couple of buildings all owned by one man. That was a mess. But we're talking about destruction all collectively in one place. And that was some shaky stuff anyway. We already know that was some mess, put together for them to do some other things that they wanted to do. But in mass, there's never been this thing where all of this destruction has happened at the same time and is happening here. So all of the Vietnam, the whatever war they've done, it has always been in that place. So Americans in general have always been completely separated from the war. What ticked them off is when pictures of Vietnam started to be printed and shown, and people started seeing that they were completely separated from it. So it's one thing to say, yeah, there's a war and we think it's bad, but we don't really know like that. But when you got to go outside of your house and they shooting 3 blocks up, you know it's bad. Mm-hmm. See, so understand something. There's a whole lot said right here. Virgin daughter of Babylon. Then it says, sit on the ground. Oh, no. There's some problems right here. That you making the virgin daughter sit on the ground. Go ahead.
There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called tender and delicate.
And we know that this the reason why this lady Liberty was given unto America as her symbol, and we're dealing with this daughter of Babylon. So we know that this is the real fight that she had was a fight amongst herself and then a fight amongst her mother. That's it. And we know when a mother fighting her daughter, she not fighting to completely destroy her. She's just fighting to overtake her. She's fighting for control. It's something altogether different when somebody is fighting to completely annihilate you. That's not the same kind of fight. So you and your friend can get into a fight and y'all can, go back and play basketball later. It's something altogether different when you are fighting for your life and the stakes are we fight to the death. That's a different kind of fight. You ain't fighting your brother to the death. Go ahead.
Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover your locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers.
Right. Go ahead.
Your nakedness shall be uncovered, yes, your shame shall be seen.
Right. And the biggest part of her nakedness and her shame is the true children of Israel that she has sold and have taken part in ruling over rigorously and selling, taking part in spreading us all over the four corners of the globe. This is her shame, and her nakedness shall be uncovered. Yahweh has hidden it all this time, and the rest of the people, the elite, know from the beginning who we were. The fact that they have in Africa a fort of Yehuda. Why would you have a slave fort called Yehuda? And that's in Africa. So the Africans knew who they were selling, and the nations, the countries knew who they were buying. So this whole thing about them not knowing who the children of Israel is, that's a lie. They have hidden it from their people. So now their people have grown up believing the lie that they've been told. Go ahead.
I will take vengeance, and I will not meet you as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit you silent, and get you into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was angry with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into your hand. You did show no mercy. Upon the ancient have you very heavily laid your yoke.
Right. I was angry with my people. See, punishment got us in this situation. And see, that's something that we have to acknowledge and accept. Go ahead.
And you said, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not lay these things to your heart, neither did you remember the latter end of it.
Right. Success makes you believe that you're going to have more success. See, once somebody do a dastardly deed and they get away with it, they're emboldened to do it again. See, you have, people, they rob a bank. They say, look, man, I'm going to rob this store, and I'm just going to do this one time. And then the rush hit when they get away with it. Now, they said that they started. They said, this is the only time I'm doing it. Before you know it, and then another, and then another one, and then another one. And the more they do it, the more they get convinced that they can do this without ever getting caught. So when it says I should be a lady forever, hey, we know the chant. God bless America. In no place else. We know the chant. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Therefore hear now this, you that are given to pleasures, that dwelleth carelessly, that says in her heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. While we on TV crying about all the things that are happening to our kids, it never does occur to anybody in America that they're going to have to go through the same thing. It never even crosses their mind. Go ahead. But these two things shall come to you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood.
In one day, the loss of children and widowhood. So what that means? Remember, earlier we read, I shall make a man more precious than gold. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, if you have the loss of children and be a widow, that means the son and the father is taken away. Go ahead.
They shall come upon you in their perfection for the multitude of your sorceries, and for the great abundance of your enchantments. For you have trusted in your wickedness. You have said, none sees me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it has perverted you. And you have said in your heart, I am, and none else beside me.
I'm telling you, all of this comes up to God bless America and no place else. It's the same thing over and over and over. Your wisdom and your knowledge have perverted you. And I'm telling you, the people who think they're the smartest are always the ones who have the hardest time seeing anything that they've done. Because they're so intelligent, you can't tell them nothing. They're so intelligent, you can't show them nothing. So, and once they've accomplished something, then that respect the persons come in. And that respect the person said, I ain't going to listen to you. So no matter who says or charges the nations with certain acts, they're not gonna listen. So Yahweh gonna have to make them listen, which is the same thing that end up happening to us. When we get to be Captain Smarty Pants and we can't listen to nobody, then here come Yahweh and he gets your attention and ain't no way you can run. Go ahead.
Therefore shall evil come upon you, you shall not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon you, you shall not be able to put it off.
Right.
And desolation shall come upon you suddenly, which you shall not know. Stand now with your enchantments and with your multitude of your sorceries, wherein you have labored from your youth. If so be, you shall be able to profit. If so be, you may prevail. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from these things that shall come upon you.
Right. Yahweh does the same thing. When you put all your trust in this person or in these people or in all of those things, when Yahweh starts bringing that judgment, he said, wait a minute. Go ahead and go get them people that you put all your trust in. See? And Yahweh does the same things to nations as he does to people. Okay, this who you trust in? I tell you what. I'm going to bring something up on you, and let me see if they can save you from this. See, that's where you want to put all your time and your energy and your trust. I tell you what, I'm going to put this on you. Now, let me see. Go run to them. Go run to them. Let me see if they can put this, like their hand stronger than Yahweh's. Go ahead.
Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto you with whom you have labored, even your merchants from your youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save you.
Right. And that's what happens when you put trust into all of those things. What ends up happening, you put all your trust into those things, and Yahweh gonna make them go their own way. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50. See, it's amazing when people put all of their energy in something else to bypass Yahweh. Then all Yahweh got to do is put a little weight on them. And let me tell you something about people in general. Self-preservation is the first act. Can't nobody say you when they got to say themselves. So that's all Yahweh got to do, change focus. So you keep putting all that trust in one thing and putting it in trust in this and this, and you're going to keep bypassing Yahweh. Yahweh said, okay, this your crutch. I'm going to move this crutch out the way. You either going to stand up on your own or you going to fall to the ground. But I'm going to take this crutch. Jeremiah chapter 15, let's start that at verse 1.
The word that Yahweh spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare you among the nations, and publish, and set up a standard. Publish, and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded. Murdoch is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces.
Understand, all of these skyscrapers, they are images, they are phallic symbols, they are pyramids, they are built in the very image. Washington, D.C. is built in the image of Egypt. It has all kind of Masonic symbols and buildings and all of these things all over the place. We don't consider that each city has a skyline with basically the same images. There's a pyramid and a phallic symbol in every downtown skyline. There's one in downtown that has the pyramid lit up and a phallic symbol, which is a male genital symbol, and the entire thing is lit up. These idols, these images are everywhere. They're on top of churches. So when it's talking about breaking these images in pieces, you have to understand there are so many images here that we've gotten accustomed to seeing them that we just walk past them, drive past them like we didn't even see them. Go ahead.
Verse 3. For out of the north there comes up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. In those days and in that time, says Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Yehudah together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek Yahweh their El.
Okay, so now we start getting the judgment of the daughter of Babylon is now connected with the children of Israel getting their redemption. Yet people want to tell you that the children of Israel are already in the land. Wait a minute. Prophecy doesn't fit that. Prophecy does not fit for the children of Israel to already have been delivered. We're talking about great judgment is supposed to happen to this daughter of Babylon who has been the hammer of the whole earth. And then the children of Israel are going and crying and weeping, seeking Yahweh. Yet what we have is the hammer of the earth has put some other people in the land and told the people that this is Israel. Yet it's supposed to be at their destruction that the children of Israel seek Yahweh their Elohim. You see the tricks? This is why the black preachers have been taught, stay out of that Old Testament. Right. See? They were taught that by the people who gave them their degrees. See, there's education and then there's indoctrination. And people think they're so educated, and what they've gotten is indoctrinated. So that way, when you indoctrinate somebody, they can read something and still see the way they were taught and not what they're reading. See, indoctrination causes you to have blinders even though you see. See, we were all indoctrinated about democracy. Yet every last one of us was taught this pledge of allegiance. And it says to the republic. Yet if you ask grown people what kind of government we have, the indoctrination will speak for them. They don't even have to think. They open their mouth and indoctrination comes out. It says democracy. Well, that's not what any of the founding papers say. That's not what any of the official documents of this country say. That's not what the Pledge of Allegiance that you learned as a child. And, I might add, they do before every sports game. And let me tell you how many people should then know that. The stadium got 50, 60, 70,000 people at it. And that's just one stadium in one state in one game. You know how many games are being played on Sunday? See, it get down to two when you get down to the playoffs. There are games in every city and they're all filled and they're all making their pledges. Yet, if you go in there and ask any of those people, they will say that we have a democracy. So indoctrination trumps education. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 5. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to Yahweh in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten.
Now, so the children of Israel are asking the way to Zion, so that means, excuse me, where the children of Israel are going to end up is not going to be Israel. So you got people that saying, well, we're going to go over there and we're going to go sit over there. The children of Israel are going to have to make their way to there. If they have spent all their time setting up this lie, you don't think they're going to take us out of here and take us straight to Israel, do you? You don't think that, do you? They have spent all their time telling this lie, setting up other lies, and you think they told all them lies to turn around and just send you back there? Come on now. Come on now. You can't believe that. Go ahead.
My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray.
Right. We've had pastors who taught us according to what they were paid to teach us. You got pastors, they got congregations with 20, 30,000 members, and they telling people the commandments don't matter. They telling them the Old Testament don't matter. Pastors telling them, oh, you can sleep with every woman in the church, you're still going to heaven. You're just going to lose things on earth. That building should have been empty when that came out of that man's mouth. When the man said the Old Testament is done away with, but if you don't pay your tithe, you should be lined up in front of a firing squad and shot with a Uzi. All these things are on the internet. Yet, they said that man deserved to have a $60 billion plane. See, our people like being ruled over in that way. We like being told that we don't have to do nothing and everything is going to be provided for us. It's the project mentality of salvation. Don't do nothing, just sit here and we're going to take care of your welfare. That's that project salvation. You ain't got to do nothing for it. You just sit there and just keep giving birth to these checks and we'll take care of everything else. Go ahead.
But isn't that a decade of indoctrination? Because didn't we say, wasn't it better for us back in Egypt?
Right.
They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All that found them have devoured them. And their adversaries said, we offend not.
Verse 7. We offend not because they have sinned against Yahweh. So them people don't believe that they're doing you any harm. They don't believe they're doing you any harm. They said, look, they just black people. So a couple people got killed. They was black. Go ahead.
The habitation of justice, even Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as he-goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country.
So the first thing, Israel has to first recognize that these things are going to have to happen. Because understand something, it is going to be a real great ordeal to even get Israel to understand that we have to leave here. Because understand something, we want to go where white folk go, but you can't go where they going. We going to follow them. They go somewhere we go. When they move in the suburb, we move to the suburb. But you ain't going to be able to go where they going. See, they got their own ordeal to deal with. Because see, as they have left Europe, they were the have-nots, they were the criminals, they were all of these things in Europe. They have left those places and come here and have ruled as kings. But here's the problem. They're not going to go back as kings. Ain't no more new land in Europe. So their judgment is going to happen with their own people. Because they're going to go back to Germany, England, France, all these other places where they're from. And those people going to know, oh, y'all them Americans, ain't you? Y'all them damn Yankees. You know, they call everybody Yankees. It don't matter. You see, we think that just mean New Yorkers. No. That's all America. Y'all them Yankees. Yeah. Y'all them Yanks. Okay. Yeah. So Europe is going. You don't think all the Europeans are going to move over and just let them? You know, okay, look, there's room in my palace. You can come here. Oh no, hell, you can't. You can go over there and work in the shambles. That's what you can do. So while we're trying to get our own vengeance, let Yahweh do his job. Stay out of Yahweh's job. Go ahead.
And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain.
None shall return in vain. And everything they shoot at, they're going to hit. They close their eyes and shoot, and they're going to hit something. Go ahead.
And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahweh. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced. O you destroyers of mine heritage, because you are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls.
Right. You rejoice at the destruction of mine heritage. See, Yahweh show you. See, first, Israel has to finish being punished. Then he punished the people who punished you. But your punishment got to be finished first. Go ahead.
Your mother shall be sore confounded.
Right. Your mother shall be sore confounded. Go ahead.
She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert.
Right. Because after the daughter of Babylon is destroyed, Babylon is still in place. The mother is still going to be in place. Go ahead.
Because of the anger of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goes by Babylon shall be astonished and hissed at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all you that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against Yahweh.
So put yourselves in array against her, all you that bend the bow. Shoot at her. And see, when you have a situation where a nation or any entity is so strong, people are afraid to come against it. But once they see it weaken, people are going to come out the woodworks. Little old bitty countries is the size of a mall. Well, let me shoot at it. Let me shoot. Because once you see it toppling over, then it's going to bring out. It's like that situation where, you look around and people are acting as if they're your friends, and then some bad event happens to you and people think that you've lost everything, and then all of a sudden you have these people that come out, and these are people that you thought was cool with you. That was a good situation for you because it gave those people an opportunity to show themselves. But then Yahweh restores you and they can't take back their ahas. So some of those things needs to happen, in your life, so you can see some of those people who are around skinning and grinning in your face, so you can see who they really are. Go ahead.
Verse 15. Shout against her round about. She has given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Yahweh. Take vengeance upon her, as she has done, do unto her.
Right. So, as it is written, you shall reap what you have sown. Jump to chapter 51. That what you put out in the earth, that's what's going to return back to you. Jeremiah 51, and let's read verses 1 through 10.
Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about.
Right. So we're talking about a multitude of problems. We're not just talking about war. We're talking about bad weather. We're talking about possible plagues. We're talking about a whole lot of things culminating, coming together to do these. I mean, you have to look at, you have an earthquake on one side, and then a hurricane on one side, and then a flood on one side, and then a drought on the other side. All of these things, normally these things happen one at a time, and then they can mark, okay, this we declare this area a federal disaster, so now we can send money to it. But guess what? If all of those things happen at the same time, now the system is getting rocked. You can't put the whole country as a disaster area and now money going everywhere for everything to be rebuilt while you still sending money to all these other places that you've made agreements with. Mm-hmm. See, what people don't understand is there's an agreement made with Israel. They have to give Israel so much money per day. If anybody in the Middle East get a weapon, America has to give Israel a better one. It's part of the agreement. So all they got to do is call and say, hey man, what's his name over there got a nuclear warhead. Alright, so we need two. And y'all got to give them to us. That's the agreement that they made with them. So that even though they're fighting their enemies, getting weapons, once they get it, Israel get a better one, and America got to give it to them. So then you talk about with those kind of weights all on them that they've made themselves. When you bring problems home and you got to take care of that and those agreements that you already made outside, that weight gets heavy. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare you not her young men, destroy you utterly all her host. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For her shrine has not been forsaken, nor Yehuda of his Elohim, of Yahweh of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reaches on to heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies.
Right. Let everyone go into his own country. The problem is, where's black land? Where's African American land? See, you can't find no country called Africa. That's a continent. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 20. Let's see. Start at verse 6.
And the day that I lifted up mine hand unto them, to bring them forth out of the land of Egypt into a land that I had espied for them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands. Then said I unto them, cast you away every man the abomination of his eyes, and defile not yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am Yahweh your El. But they rebelled against me, and would not hearken unto me. They did not every man cast away the abomination of their eyes, neither did they forsake the idols of Egypt.
Right.
Then I said, I'll pour out my fury upon them, to accomplish my anger against them in the midst of the land of Egypt.
Right. And here we are, as it is written, I will send them into Egypt again via ships. The ships of Tarshish, which is Spain. Negro is a Spanish word. It was the Spanish ships that brought us here. So now, once again, we are mad upon our idols, and they are about to worship their idols in a few days. If y'all paying attention on the news, they are openly telling you that tomorrow is the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice. See, a lot of people don't remember that this was originally done not on the 25th. See, a lot of people don't remember that. See, they just change it as they go along. See, that they are openly worshiping the winter solstice. Right. See, we don't forgot about that. See, ask your mama about that while she got up her Christmas tree. She don't know a damn thing about it, but she'll tell you this about Jesus, and might cuss you out. Why? Because indoctrination trumps education. Always. Go ahead.
But I wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted before the heathen, among whom they were, in whose sight I made myself known unto them, and bring them forth out of the land of Egypt.
Right, and just Israel wanted to appoint a captain and go back into Egypt. We have already gone back to Egypt in our hearts. We've gone back. Our folks still, come New Year, they're going to go right back into cooking them nasty, stinking chitterlings. stanking up, and that stank get all into the walls. After that stuff is all gone, you can still smell the stank in the walls. And you don't find no Euro Gentiles eating no chitterlings. And they love pig, but they don't eat no chitlins. They don't touch that. That's a slave meal that we still eating. We talking about now folks got houses and nice cars and still eating that nasty slave food that the slaves were starving and ate. And now we done made a tradition out of it. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Wherefore I caused them to go forth out of the land of Egypt, and brought them into the wilderness. And I gave them my statutes, and showed them my judgments, which if a man do, he shall even live in them. Moreover also I gave them my Shabbats, to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yahweh, that sanctified them.
Right, and the first thing that the Euro Gentiles wanted to do away with when they invaded Jerusalem is they came in and wanted to do away with the Sabbath and all of the ways of Yahweh. That perpetual covenant that was a sign between Yahweh and Israel is the very thing that they want to poison to this day. This is the thing that they teach against constantly, because they need to break the ties between you and your Elohim, because that makes you weaker. You don't allow your enemy to be strengthened. See, a lot of people think war is all about bang bang shoot 'em up. No. War is about cutting off the supply lines. If they can't get bullets, what they gonna shoot at you? So cutting off the supply line is a bigger part of war than actually shooting at your enemy. Your supplier is Yahweh. And if your enemy can cut off your supply lines, tell you his name just God, or tell you his name so holy you can't call on it, and then tell you that the Sabbath is done away with, so now you have severed your ties, you have severed your perpetual covenant, then he's weakening you. Go ahead.
Verse 13. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walked not in my statutes, and they despised my judgments, which if a man do, he shall even live in them. And my Shabbats they greatly polluted. Then I said, I'd pour out my fear upon them in the wilderness, to consume them. But I wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted before the heathen, in whose sight I brought them out. Yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands, because they despised my judgments, and walked not in my statutes, but polluted my Shabbats, for their heart went after their idols.
Right. And to this day, those Sabbaths are still being polluted. We can read in Acts chapter 13 that the Euro Gentiles first heard the word on the Sabbath. And Acts is the first 30 years of the church. We're talking about after the birth, death, and resurrection of the Mashiach, the Euro Gentiles were still hearing the word on the Sabbath. Now all of a sudden, don't nobody know when the Sabbath is, and now the Sabbath is completely done away with. Yeah, Acts 13 is the New Testament. And they're still talking about the Sabbath in the New Testament. The Sabbath was changed 320 something years later. But yet you got educated people who are so educated, but they don't know that. Why? Because indoctrination trumps education. You can show somebody the truth, but if you teach them to walk in a lie, even when they see the truth, they're going to automatically lean toward the lie. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, mine eye had spared them from destroying them, neither did I make an end of them in the wilderness. But I said unto the children in the wilderness, walk you not in the statutes of your fathers, neither observe their judgments, nor defile yourselves with their idols. I am Yahweh your El. Walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them.
Right, and these are not the things that we hear from any of the shepherds over Israel. They're not telling people to follow the ways of Yahweh. They're telling people that you have grace. Your grace allows you to do whatever you want to do. You have grace. You don't have to follow any statutes or judgments. And it's getting us spiritually killed. Go ahead.
And hallow my Shabbats, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that you may know that I am Yahweh your El. Notwithstanding the children rebelled against me, they walked not in my statutes, neither kept my judgments to do them, which if a man do, he shall even live in them. They polluted my Shabbats. Then I said, I would pour out my fury upon them to accomplish my anger against them in the wilderness. Nevertheless, I withdrew my hand and wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted in the sight of the heathen, in whose sight I brought them forth. I lifted up mine hand unto them also in the wilderness, that I would scatter them among the heathen, and disperse them throughout the country.
Right. So when these people who tell you that they are the children of Israel, yet they're all in one place, and they said that they've been, among the Mediterranean area for, thousands of years, that's a problem. Because this book said that the children of Israel would be scattered all over the globe. And scattered meaning they would not be in control. Not they moved, but somebody moved them. So we didn't have no passports. Today, if we try to go somewhere, they say, where your passport? Where your such and such? They moved us all over the countries, and they didn't ask us for no passport. There was a shipping manifest of how many bodies they had on that ship. But we didn't have to have. Cargo don't need a passport. People need a passport. They did not transport us as people. They transported us as cargo. But therein lies the proof of our being scattered. See? Our proof is in the Gentile documentation. It's not our documentation. We didn't document it. They did. It's their documentation that we're able to prove that they dumped us off the ship, that the ship was too heavy, because they'll start. They got 300 lists of cargo. They get there and it's 200. Hey, man, what happened to the other 100 that's on this manifest? Ship got heavy. So it's their documentation that we got all of this. We didn't get this from our own documentation. Go ahead.
Verse 24. Because they had not executed my judgments, but had despised my statutes, and had polluted my Shabbats, and their eyes were after their fathers' idols. Wherefore I gave them also statutes that were not good, and judgments whereby they should not live. And I polluted them in their own gifts, in that they caused to pass through the fire all that opens the womb, that I might make them desolate, to the end that they might know that I am Yahweh.
Right, so then he stepped aside and let us worship other gods. Since that's what you want to do, he stepped aside. Go ahead then. You gonna sit there and offer up, you gonna follow the ways of these heathens and set your own sons and daughters on fire? Offer them? You go ahead then. Go ahead.
Therefore, Son of Man, speak unto the house of Israel, and say unto them, Thus said the Adonai Yahweh, Yet in this your fathers have blasphemed me, in that they have committed a trespass against me. For when I had brought them into the land, for the which I lifted up my hand to give it to them, then they saw every high hill and all the thick trees, and they offered there their sacrifices and their present, and they presented the provocation of their offerings. There also they made their sweet savor, and poured out their drink offerings.
Right. When they saw every high hill and all the thick trees, they are just about to they put their presents under the tree, and the people are going to go under those trees and get their gifts, and then they got their little drink offerings. There's certain drinks that they don't even make until certain times of the year. The eggnog don't come out till Christmas. The ambrosia don't come out until New Year's. Yeah, they got certain drink offerings that don't even show up until certain times of the year. Say, I drink orange juice all year. I drink pink grapefruit juice all year. I don't have no certain drink that come out at certain times of the year. Right, those are drink offerings. Why do you think they only show up? People can drink eggnog all year. Why does it just happen to show up during that time? Right. See, there's a little bit more going on there than you think. Go ahead.
Then I said unto them, What is the high place whereunto you go? And the name thereof is called Bema unto this day. Wherefore say unto the house of Israel, Thus said the Adonai Yahweh, Are you polluted after the manner of your fathers, and commit you whoredom after their abominations? For when you offer your gifts, when you make your sons to pass through the fire, you pollute yourselves with all your idols, even unto this day. And shall I be inquired of by you, O house of Israel? As I live, saith the Adonai Yahweh, I will not be inquired of by you. And that which comes into your mind shall not be at all, that you say, We will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone.
Right. We want to be just like everybody else. We don't want to be sanctified. We don't want to be separated. We don't want to be different. We want to be like everybody else. What did Israel say? Give us a king like all the other nations. No, we don't want to have an invisible ruler. We want somebody that we can see, somebody that we can see rule over us, to give us orders like all the other nations. Like, we know you provide for us and everything, but give us a king that we can see. We want somebody that we can physically behold. See, we don't like this thing, that you've set up. We don't like this because we can't see you. We know you provide for us and we got everything we need, but give us a man. Go ahead.
Verse 33. As I live, saith the Adonai Yahweh, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I'll bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered.
Right. None of this right here can fit the so-called Jew-like people. Go ahead.
With a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out.
So in other words, you're not going to make that decision. Okay? With a stretched out arm and with fury poured out, I'm going to gather you out of the countries, plural. So we keep thinking country. No. We're scattered all over the globe. So this hail is going to spread all over and it's going to be directed at us. Now you have to ask yourself, what possible ways can that be done? If those people all get to the point that, hey, these people are cursed and they're the reason for our problems. That's all it takes. Remember, they've killed off whole cities for one false rumor. Hey, that black boy winked at a white woman. And 300 people come up dead. But we think we've come to a point where that couldn't possibly happen again. Right. One false story. Same kind of false story caused Black Wall Street to get burned to the ground. One same lie has happened all over this country. All they said, somebody did something. Nobody presented any evidence. Just somebody comes up with a rumor, and before you know it, all the black properties get burned down and taken, and anybody who don't flee gets killed. Go ahead.
And I'll bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
Now, Yahweh pleading with you face to face is Yahweh getting your attention. Okay? And pleading with you face to face is not exactly the kind of situation you want to be a part of. But you ain't really got no choice in this matter. Go ahead.
Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt.
Now, stop. Pause. How did he plead with our fathers in the land of Egypt? He starved them. He led them all over the place. He made them kill their own rebels. Right. Go ahead.
So will I plead with you, said the Adonai Yahweh, and I'll cause you to pass under the rod. And
right. I'm going to cause you to pass under the rod. You're going to learn how to be instructed. See, that's our biggest problem. We don't follow instruction unless white people give it. It's hard for us to follow instruction from one another. See, a black supervisor have a whole lot of problems out of other black people. White supervisors don't have no problem with it. Because they believe that they should be ruled over by white people. Mm-hmm. So they don't get a white people hell. You end up being a black supervisor, they get a black supervisor hell. Who are you to tell me? I'm the supervisor. Who's supervisor you? You don't supervise nothing here. Right. Go ahead.
And I'll bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I'll purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me.
Right. You go pass under the rod. I'm going to bring you into the bond of the covenant. And those that don't come under this rod and learn how to follow these instructions, I'm going to purge them out from among you. Now, Israel had to do that themselves before. Moshe instructed them. Every man go slay his brother. When they going to do their own thing, all right, kill them off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, by teaching our people to stay out of the Old Testament, you ain't going to understand what the bond of the covenant is.
No. They going to be around there talking about with grace and mercy. God. Just screaming out words and catchphrases, because that's what worship has turned into. A bunch of catchphrases, and people have no idea about the substance of what's going on. Go ahead.
I'll bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and you shall know that I am Yahweh.
So understand this process. I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, where they are living, but they shall not enter into the land of Israel. So he gonna kill them off before, but they gonna come out with everybody else, but they ain't going into Israel. So then you got them slick people who say, well, I'm going straight to Israel. Them Jewish gonna run them out of there. So I don't care how early you think you going now. You can go ahead, get your little passport, get all your stuff. Let me tell you something. When the international eye is turned away, you're going to see just how wicked people can be. Some people, the only reason they're doing half right is somebody can see what they're doing. The only way we're getting any kind of justice for all of this police brutality is that the camera showed up. Without a camera phone, the same thing that was happening in the 60s would still be happening.
This is our word against.
That's it. We make a claim and they say, well, we looked into it, we didn't see nothing. Case dismissed. They just can't do that as fast now. Go ahead.
As for you, O house of Israel, thus said the Adonai Yahweh, go you, serve you everyone his idols, and hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me, but pollute you my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols. For in mine holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, said the Adonai Yahweh, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. There will I accept them, and there will I require your offerings and the first fruits of your oblations with all your holy things.
Right, and all of these things that people have told you have been done away with. Yahweh is going to expect those things of Israel. Go ahead.
I will accept you with your sweet savor, when I bring you out from the people, and gather you out of the countries wherein you have been scattered, and I'll be sanctified in you before the heathen.
Right. So then the shame of the nations is going to be known, because then all of those nations are going to have to acknowledge that they have wrongfully held the children of Israel. Their shame shall be uncovered. Their nakedness shall be shown. Did you know who it was you were mistreating over there? Those were the people of my heritage. Go ahead.
And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when I shall bring you out into the land of Israel, into the country for which I lifted up my hand to give it to your fathers. And there shall you remember your ways, and all your doings, wherein you have been defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that you have committed.
Right, and this is the problem. You can't get Israel to see any of the evils that they've committed. So while here it is, we have all of these big national events, these worldwide events that are going to take place to move the children of Israel to where we're supposed to be. And here it is, Yahweh is bringing personal things in our lives to get us ready for those, and we're fighting off the changes that Yahweh is bringing toward us to get us ready. So people are paying so much attention to their little personal business, and they don't understand, hey, there's some worldwide events that Yahweh is getting ready to put into play, that you need to get your little personal business in order and let him deal with you so that you're able to deal with this stuff that's on its way. But we're so busy running and not allowing Yahweh to deal with us. You're going to let this event come upon you, and you're going to be in some seriously deep trouble. Because ain't going to be no running from this. Go ahead.
Verse 44. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O you house of Israel, said the Adonai Yahweh. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward the south, and drop your word toward the south.
All right, that's all I want to do there. We have got into this thing, this integration has appeared as if it was something done for us. But in fact, what it ended up being was a way for our people to be monitored. And it's difficult for people to monitor you if you are completely separate from them. This integration provided a system and created an avenue whereby our progress and our prosperity could be watched and then, of course, hindered if necessary. So we have now begun to believe that we're actually a part of this system. So we don't want anything to happen to it. We don't want anything to happen to America. We don't want anything to happen because we actually believe that we're a part of this system. But it's not up to us. When somebody does murder, we have absolutely no problem looking on the TV and saying that person should be judged for what they've done. Yet we look at nations or this nation and look at all of the things that have taken place, yet we don't want anything to happen to it because we have connected ourselves to it. And the bottom line, just like we would want a murderer to have a just judgment done against them, when we look at a nation who has murdered many, if you attempt to hinder Yahweh's judgment, then you end up taking a part in that judgment because you have tried to, what is written as wrest judgment. You have tried to cause it to be lightened, to be hindered in your doings. And this is what we do. This is why judgment period was taken out of man's hand, because man has a real problem with having just judgment when it's someone or something that's close to them. So I've heard people say all manner of things against people, but then when one of their family members do the same thing, all of a sudden it's different. Well, wait a minute. Why was it low down and wicked murder when that person did it, but it wasn't low down and wicked murder when your family member did it? It was same low down and wicked murder when your family member did it. But it's different because it's somebody that was close to you. And see, that's not how righteousness is done. That's not how righteousness is judged. And what we do when people do wrong, we pacify them in their wrong. And what happens is we then take a portion of the wrong. So you're only as righteous as the wickedness that you justify. So if you justify a murder, you might as well go ahead and pick up, the knife or the gun and go ahead and get you a few stabs or a shot off too. Because you have justified those doings. And Israel cannot continue to operate in such a fashion and still call ourselves Israel. You cannot justify wickedness, walk hand in hand with things that you know are incorrect. Say nothing, do nothing, and still think that Yahweh is pleased with your actions. It must not be done among the children of Israel. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Let's leave out with a prayer. And we're going to face the east. And all males, remove your head covering, and females, always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, we thank you, Yahweh. We thank you for giving us some form of understanding. We know that this understanding that you have given up to us is just a small drop in a very, very large container. But we thank you, Yahweh, that you have given us the little understanding that you've allowed for us to partake in. We pray, Father, that you would open up our hearts and our minds and our spirits, that we may be able to receive these things and that we may be able to walk in them. For Yahweh, we have greatly sinned against you. We have greatly walked against the covenants. We have greatly walked against this righteous and holy culture that was given unto us. It was your ways. It was your culture that you gave unto the people who are called by this great and holy name of Israel. Yahweh, please teach us how to walk in this great and holy name. Please teach us how not to blaspheme your holy name. For we blaspheme your name when we go about doing our own things, saying that we are the children of Israel. And then the nations see how we operate. The nations see how we treat one another. Yahweh, teach us how to treat first ourselves and other Israelites, and then how to communicate and deal with the nations. For the people should see how we react and glorify your holy name. But Yahweh, sometimes we, even as Israel, embarrass you with our own dealings, getting caught within our own feelings. Yahweh, open up our eyes that we may be able to see where we have blasphemed your holy name, and teach us how not to do so. We glorify and we magnify your holy name, Yahweh, and we pray, Father, that you would not take away your spirit from us, but keep increasing us with knowledge and understanding and a willing and obedient heart and spirit. We ask these prayers not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and in spirit. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name, we ask these things of you. Amen and hallelujah.
Hallelujah.